Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
You're listening to Inside OUTA with Lois Moodley.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Inside OUTA. I'm Lois Moodley, Head of Communications at the organization Undoing Tax Abuse. That's OUTA, a proudly South African non-profit civil action organization. Since we kicked off the show, we've been introducing you to OUTA's leadership and what the organization is working on. Today, I'm looking forward to starting a series of interviews focusing on whistleblowers that will be broadcast right here on brandlive.co.za over the next few weeks. Today's guest is OUTA's Head of Investigations. That's Erich Neethling. And following that, I'll be catching up with OUTA Portfolio Manager for Energy, Ronald Chauke. So thanks for joining us. It's a jam-packed half an hour on Inside OUTA.
Less corruption, more accountability. Stay tuned to Inside OUTA.
Joining us today is OUTA's Head of Investigations. That's Erich Neethling. Erich, thanks so much for joining us. First off, please tell us what exactly your department does.
Okay, OUTA Investigations is the first entity within OUTA to receive information from whistleblowers. We analyze and we assess this information that is provided to us, firstly to determine whether the contents of it falls within the OUTA mandate, and should that then be the case, also look into whether OUTA has the capacity to drill down into the matter. We then determine the nature of these allegations, the supporting information, and then test it against our existing information, which we might or might not have, and then look at the potential for this case to bear fruit insofar as bringing perpetrators to book, or basically uncovering any forms of maladministration that could be associated with that information. We have found that the majority of our cases fall within the corruption and abuse within the government procurement space, and that is at a national, provincial and local government level. This has a major spillover effect insofar as what we call the silent victims. These are the individuals who stand up against corruption, our whistleblowers, who are then ostensibly suspended or dismissed, usually on bogus or trumped-up charges. These individuals are our real heroes, and they should not only be protected, but they should be cherished. We need to change the culture of silence and celebrate these whistleblowers, and investigations with OUTA is this first port of call for them.
How can whistleblowers report to us?
OUTA has multiple channels through which whistleblowers can contact us. Of paramount importance, of course, is the protection of the whistleblower, but also the information they provide to us insofar as supporting the allegations that they bring. So it's a twofolded process: protection of the whistleblower, but also the information. The origin of the information can sometimes lead to the whistleblower, so it's quite important that we protect them accordingly. The most effective and preferred way of reporting information to us is via our website on our whistleblowing reporting platform. This can easily be accessed via the OUTA website under the whistleblowing drop-down, and this platform allows for individuals to remain totally anonymous should they so choose. They receive a dedicated case number, and we can communicate in a secure manner without any outside agencies gaining access to the information provided or the identity of the individual providing it. Also of importance is that platform also allows for whistleblowers to load any documentation in a PDF or other format for us to access, which limits the ability or the requirement to meet on a personal basis at the onset of a relationship. That being said, less desired forms of contact is telephonically or via email, as this is considered a risk. It is available, but it is not preferred. We then also make contact with our whistleblowers in a secure manner, whether it is via our whistleblower platform, but should the whistleblower choose to link up with us, we're more than willing to meet with them and follow the necessary precautions to ensure the safety of the individual. Obviously, the risk associated with the information determines the kind of treatment strategies that the whistleblower can expect.
And how do we deal with them?
Like I said before, the whistleblowers are the real heroes, and we treat and advise them. And of importance is to treat them and advise them of their rights insofar as the Protected Disclosures Act. This act is under review with various new approaches coming to the fore. It should, however, also be noted that OUTA is a civil action organisation and that we have limited scope and resources. So we need to make sure that the information that's provided and the manner and the persons that provide that information is directed with diligence and within our mandate. And it is important that whistleblowers know what we can and what we cannot do, and that all the actions that one takes usually has repercussions. It is not for OUTA to fight the personal battles of individuals, but we do recognize that there's constant overlap between the needs of the individuals and society as a whole. Each case is therefore treated on a case-specific manner. Ours is to engage with like-minded patriots who want to make South Africa a better place. And OUTA has a policy that spells out how we engage with whistleblowers, and it should ensure that this is done in an ethical manner. Even though this doesn't speak to the practicality, I don't believe we'll divulge so much in terms of the way in which we deal with it, but rather how and why we deal with them.
What are some of the most successful investigations you have had?
As you would know, OUTA originally commenced work within the e-tolling environment, and the mandate has subsequently changed to spread our wings and look into fighting corruption within the local, provincial and national government space. And there has been many subsequent investigations that have flowed from that. Our actions have placed OUTA at the forefront of exposing state capture. We recognize the role of many stakeholders in this space, but I believe our constant exposure of the wrongdoing which we have identified has occurred through multiple entities and channels. We are currently looking into the abuse of state funds within the higher education space, for instance, with a lot of good feedback coming out of it. We are extremely concerned that a vast percentage of the education budget is not resulting in a decline in the unemployment figures. We are not blind to the economic reasons for this, but at the very least one expects that the billions of rands allotted to training of our youth will in fact result in training that will make people more employable, as opposed to the unabated theft that we have now evidence of and are continuing to receive more and more evidence. This is an existing project with a multitude of South Africans coming forward to share similar evidence, and I urge you to watch this space. It's going to get interesting.
With the public hearings kicking off on the 20th of August, do you think that the state capture inquiry will heed results?
I believe it will be a great start in revealing the levels of rot that is set in within our government agencies. It will highlight the need to not only change the rules and regulations insofar as procurement processes, but will also highlight the need to enhance service delivery and public education. Our state coffers are not a bank through which unlimited funds can be extracted with no resulting service delivery. This, I think, poses a serious threat to our national security at a local, provincial and national level. It makes South Africa an unattractive investment destination, and it furthermore inculcates behaviour which will be very hard to change should it become entrenched. It is therefore extremely important that the inquiry heeds the results that we require, but that this shouldn't happen in isolation. It doesn't absolve our law enforcement agencies to investigate a lot of the allegations and charges that OUTA has already brought. The inquiry is but a process, and I believe parallel investigations by law enforcement should occur at the same time and be complementary in one way or the other.
Well, Erich, let's get a little personal. Give our listeners a chance to get to know you. What is your professional background, and what did you do before joining OUTA?
I have 25 odd years experience within the government national security investigations environment, and I also worked for quite some time within the financial transnational investigative environment. I've also been involved in what is called the Financial Action Task Force, which looks at money laundering associated with multiple predicate offences, but predominantly within the within the tax environment. So yes, quite a few years within this space.
So why did you join OUTA?
I believe OUTA represents an organisation that holds the values that I expect all government employees to have. I hope that we will, through our efforts, be able to not only hold them to account, but also enhance public knowledge of abuse. If this results in a better South Africa, I know that it would have been worth it for me to have joined, and I believe that my past knowledge of what happens within the government space will allow me to better advise OUTA on how to address certain shortcomings that we are currently experiencing.
What direction do you see South Africa going in regards to corruption? Are we on the right track, and is OUTA making a difference, or can we make a significant difference, in your opinion?
I believe we are on the beginning of turning around the corruption that is set in. It is a long journey, and the momentum of the corrupt still swinging in the wrong direction. Just by changing the top layers doesn't necessarily imply that the behavior is going to change. We will, with other stakeholders in society, apply the pressure to stop the momentum, to claw back the ground that we have lost. But with this must come policy change, education, and a conviction of perpetrators with the most harshest penalties possible.
Well, thank you so much, Erich, for joining us, and keep up the great work. Up next, I'll be chatting to Ronald Chauke, OUTA's portfolio manager for energy.
Less tax abuse, more transparency. Stay tuned to Inside OUTA.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh na 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 na. Bacon boss Plantina. She got the good vibe, make the world go round. She got the good vibe, make the world go round. And when she go down, down, make the party turn up. And when she go down, down, make the party turn up. Big bumba go ratatata, shake it like an earthquake. That thing go up, make me ranatata. Your mama must be proud though when you shake it like that. Oh no no no. Dance under the moonlight, slow wine to the twilight. Turn off the lights 'cause the mood is right. Girl, the dots, love how you so wine you like a 5-star meal. Let's wine and dine. Pack up for me, girl. Oh no no no. She got the good vibe. She got the good vibe. Down 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 down. Oh yeah. Down 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 down. Ay 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 ay.
Girl, you hotter than pepper. And then defender kurega. You know right up on the white ass up. Yeah yeah. 'Cause you are one in a billion.
One in a billion. One in a billion.
'Cause you're my sweet mamacita.
Sweet mamacita. Yeah yeah.
And I'm trying to feel us up.
Yeah.
Tip it to go down 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 down. One more time.
She got the good vibe. She got the good vibe. Make the world go round, and when she go down, 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 make the party turn up. And when she go down, 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 make the party turn up.
Every time when I look in your eyes, oh, I see fire burning, 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 burning. Every time when you move that body so slow, I don't care who you are, I don't care where you come from. 'Cause I'm my maganaga, my. Yeah, 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 yeah. My maganaga, my. Yeah, 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 yeah. Baby, you're the baddest. You're so the baddest. Why you turn the camera? Baby girl,
she got the good vibe. She got the good vibe. Make the world go round, and when she go down, 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 make the party turn up. And when she go down, 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 make the party turn up. She got the good vibe. She got the good vibe. Down, 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 down. Oh yeah. Down, 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 down. Ay, ay, ay.
'cause I want my maganaga, my. I want my maganaga, my.
Live from 27 boxes in the heart of Melville, this is brandlive.co.za.
You're listening to Inside OUTA with Lois Moodley.
Welcome to the Inside OUTA Progress Report. In this feature, we'll be joined by one of our portfolio managers each week to get an update on the work that they're doing, whether it be transport, water and environment, energy, local government, or special projects. Joining me today is OUTA Portfolio Manager for Energy, Ronald Chauke. Ronald, thanks for joining us. Let's get into it. You are busy working hard on OUTA submission into the Competition Commission with regards to the unbundling of Eskom. Please, can you tell us a bit more about that?
Okay, thank you. Yes, the reason why we're doing this is to lodge a complaint to the Competition Commission for them to do what we call a market inquiry into the electricity supply industry in the country. The reason for the market inquiry is that Eskom has been abusing its market dominance in the electricity supply industry in the country. This has unfortunately affected us in many ways. For instance, you are having problems of load shedding, uncontrolled blackouts, Eskom's poor performance, such as an example whereby now they've just reported a 19.6 billion irregular expenditure. So on its own, it demonstrates to you that we're having a big problem. So unless we bring competition, it means that we are stuck with Eskom, and then that will lead us to what we call poor service delivery, poor access, and then unfortunately a higher cost of living.
How likely is it for us to get another service provider in the energy sector, with Eskom being the monopoly as it stands, has the infrastructure already? It will take a lot for a new person to come into like with any infrastructure, they'll have to build their own power stations. How likely is that?
It's true. To get new entrants into the electricity supply industry is a challenge. However, at the present moment, we are having what we call independent power producers who are contributing a minimum of 4% to our total energy supply in the country. That is not enough. Remember, me and you as ordinary citizens, what we need actually is to have a choice of my supplier. So meaning that if I have a reliable supplier who provides me secure electricity at any given point in time, the price won't be a big issue. The important thing is for me to have a guaranteed supply. And then once government actually takes our complaint into account and then unbundle Eskom, that will mean that there will be more competition, more suppliers. And then remember the law of the market, demand and supply. They will be able to help us to drive down the prices of electricity down, and then the reliability will go up. Given the fact that if ever one supplier fails to meet my demand, I will go to the next supplier. So basically that will liberate the market to the benefit of all of us electricity users.
Well, last week you attended the Energy Transition Workshop. Can you tell us a bit about that and what that was about?
Yes, it was about the situation where we are talking about our migration from the current coal-intensive energy sector to a clean energy sector environment. This will involve us actually starting to say that how do we phase out coal as the more important power supply source to go to what we call renewables. Let's look at the electricity sector. At the present moment, Eskom supply still is more than 85% coal generated. And then when the new integrated resource plan is approved, and then it brings us a bigger component of renewables, it means that we will reduce our dependence on unclean sources, which have got other externalities, such as what we call unhealth-related factors. For instance, when you look at people in Mpumalanga, due to the inhalation of the coal smoke and all things like that, because of coal utilization, they're having a high level of people suffering from chronic lung diseases. And then once we go towards more cleaner sources, that will help us to transition into what we call energy democracy. Energy democracy on its own is what we call, me and you have a choice to make, to say that I prefer to have a cleaner environment. And then that will mean that renewables are our future. Basically, the energy transition is all about that, moving towards a cleaner supply source rather than a dirty source as we are living at the present moment.
Thank you, Ronald. That was really inspiring, and I hope he's inspired you to get behind the work that he does. Visit our website, www.outa.co.za, and while you're there, please consider signing up for a monthly donation. We cannot do the work that we do without your support. That's all we have time for this week. I hope you enjoyed getting to hear from Erich exactly what our investigation department does. They are really the cornerstone of our work. And a big thank you to all of you brave whistleblowers for tipping us off, sending us evidence, and essentially driving our investigations. In the coming weeks, we'll be looking at whistleblower protection legislation and hope to also catch up with some whistleblowers themselves. Till next week.
Thanks for listening to Inside OUTA. Tune in next week when we delve deeper into undoing tax abuse.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. Brandlive.co.za